My name is Darrell. Thanks for being with us tonight once again. Now, the Institute of Energy Security has indicated government failed to highlight pertinent issues in the development of the downstream petroleum sector during the presentation of the 2018 budget statement. The IES is not happy. The 2018 budget, for instance, disregarded the Tema oil refineries development as well as making provisions to equip the bulk oil storage and transportation company BOST to enable it perform a strategic role of releasing fuel stock to cushion the burden of consumers in times of price hikes. In an interview on the marketplace earlier, principal researcher of the IES, Richmond Roxon, told host Emmanuel Boajeriafe consumers would not have felt the shocks on the international crude market if BOST was adequately releasing strategic stock of fuel.
You look at the role of BOST, that is what they are concerned, that is their role, that is their responsibility that we expect them to carry out. Unfortunately, as at the last time we checked, instead of having the 12 weeks, we didn't have even up to the 12 weeks that we're expecting. If we had strategic stocks for the first time in 2 years, that's since June 2015, crude oil prices have crossed the $60 mark. So like I mentioned, that's the last time that happened. As we speak, it's around $62. What it means is that if we had stock, we wouldn't need to import directly whilst we have it's at $60, and whilst gasoline and gas oil prices have gone up on the international market. You just release what you have, because our belief and our research shows that it's not going to be on for a long time. OPEC and Russia and some non-OPEC countries are going to have a meeting very soon on 30th November, and it's part of the reasons why prices are going up, because they're looking at arrangement of cutting down production.
Before we really go to the causes, you've always, highlighted on the stock that we have with BOST.
Yeah.
How come, if we're not using it, you're taking that into consideration in your data?
Yes, what we do is that we always put together the stock that we have, and when you check our recent statement, we said that the inflows that came were even small. We had just around 44,000 metric tons in the country. It's relatively lower than what we've had over the period. And we mentioned last year June, that we expected BOST to expand when it comes to storage facilities, because it's important that we increase our 12-week margin to about 6 months. Unfortunately, that hasn't been done. We saw that the budget will take advantage of talking about the expansion at BOST and even the role of Tema oil refinery. We didn't see anything.
Now, the Bank of Ghana has assured it has adequate dollars to meet demands of businesses and also support the cedi. This follows the local currency's sustained depreciation against the dollar over the past week. Now, some analysts have even described the cedi's performance as the worst in the last 8 months, but the regulator is insisting that the sustained depreciation is not supported by real demand, as its investigations suggest otherwise. The central bank says it is supporting banks with the required dollars and expects the situation to stabilize very soon. Let's hear now from Stephen Opata. He's head of financial markets at the Bank of Ghana.
We don't think that the local bond issuance has been the reason for the slippage. Let me explain that this bond was issued for local investors, but a significant portion of the proceeds that came was from offshore dollars. That's a foreign currency account. So it's offshore. It's not dollars that essentially was in the system. It's only 20% was onshore dollars. So even though it was dollars for corporations or individuals, majority of it came from offshore. So it cannot be the reason why the cedi has taken this blip. You have to remember that same time last year we did issue a similar bond like that, and it didn't cause that slip. Even if there were some movements, it did not last for a long time. In the same way, we don't expect this to last, this to be persistent. Even if there's some noise around that, we expect the cedi to recover very shortly.
And for you, what was, because the perception was there was a local bond, and the fact that everybody who had dollar in his or her account brought it out to buy this bond, looking at the mouth-watering rates that you offered.
Mouth-watering indeed. I mean, look, this was 6.25%. I think for this dollar issuance, it's not too bad. Last time this was issued was 6%. But to get to your substantive question, of this issuance of $221 million, it's only $42 million that was onshore dollars. That is dollars quote-unquote residing here. The 80% was offshore dollars. So it couldn't have been dollars that was just within the system and was small. So we don't think the amount of this onshore dollars was significant enough to have caused persistent slippage.
And for you, you believe that you have enough reserves, there's no need to panic, the situation is under control?
Yes, George, I think generally our external position is very good compared to the same period last year. Let me give you some numbers. We expect to end the year by building reserves of $650 million. Okay, we expect to end the year with a current account surplus. Okay, we expect to end the year with a trade surplus. So in general, the external position is good. Our reserves as at now is $7.29 billion, which is equivalent to 4.1 months of import cover. If you look at this, for a small open economy and an economy with quite a diversified commodity base, we think we have sufficient reserves to meet any external shocks and even local shocks that will come. So we think we can meet the situation well.
And maybe, are you also going to increase the intervention when needed if the situation appears to be getting out of hand?
I don't expect it to get out of hand, but if we observed increased volatilities than we are comfortable with, of course we will give more dollars to the market. We'll give what we call balance of payment support. We'll sell more dollars to ensure that there's not too much volatilities that we are not comfortable with.
Don't you think that maybe some of the people, the bankers and all that, think that you are not giving the market enough, you are not present in the market enough, and that is why speculators are betting on these things?
I wouldn't think so. Look, we have a cash flow that we've planned for the whole year, and depending on what's happening, the dynamics, if we observe through our pipeline pool of the market, if we observe there's increased demand from the banks, then we will also increase our supply to the banks. And we've done some of that lately. We also have to remember that there were some ESLA-related dollar commitments, which we've honored a significant portion. So we have enough reserves if we notice that there's persistent increase in corporate demand. We'll supply more dollars to the market.
In other news tonight, the Vice Chairman of the Trade, Industry and Tourism Committee of Parliament, Atu Pamford, has disclosed some Italian businessmen have expressed interest in investing in the Shama district of the Western region. He noted such investment will not only help turn around the fortunes of that district, but also create jobs for the youth of the area. Speaking to Joy Business, Mr. Pamford urged the youth of Shama to take advantage of the potential opportunities that emerge.
You know, Shama has that is where we have our thermal, power being produced. All over the years back is like we produce and distribute hoop onto the national grid and then it's gone. Now the question is that once we produce it, can't we drop power to be able to utilize it up to prop up our SMEs in an enclave? Thankfully, we also have this free zone enclave, which is already there. Now, as I speak, there is a company there, Black Ivy, taking parts of the free zone, preparing the grounds. If you go there now, you see it on the ground. They are preparing the ground. They are private sector, trying to create their own park as an industrial park for companies or businesses to come and locate there and then run. So Shama is well positioned, to be able to receive this kind of industrialization. So when we have the Italians coming down here to partner with us, making sure that precision, equipment, technology, innovation is done, we will be able to feed into all these, and then we'll create a lot of jobs for our youth. I'm looking at the youth. It's an opportunity this time, that every youth should rise up. My Shama youth, please rise up. This is the opportunity, and I don't want it to slip anybody, that as we move ahead, we want to make sure that knowledge transfer is also being done. It's about time that we also develop ourselves. And so I think that is the right opportunity to move ahead with the Italians now.
Now, Chief Executive of online real estate marketplace, Mikasa, says his firm's acquisition of Jumia House Ghana would put it in a prime position to better serve Ghana's growing real estate market. The startup acquired Jumia House Ghana for an undisclosed amount, firmly establishing the property portal as the country's largest. Kelvin Yame has been telling Joy Business what this means for the business.
I mean, with acquisition, I think it's giving us more opportunity to serve our customers more. It's giving us more opportunities to deliver, you know, the promises that we continue to give our customers in terms of traffic, in terms of leads, in terms of return on investment. We want people to feel that their business is growing. You know, we want to give them an alternative to marketing, because the traditional market is very expensive. It's not very targeted. You know, there are all of these disadvantages why they can't pick that option. So we want them to see this option as a very resourceful option, a very reliable option, you know, to help their business grow. And we want our consumers who, regardless, will continue to invest, because real estate is like a very basic need, right? It's a lot of deficit. We need more people to be incentivized to build more. But when they build more, we need people to acquire this or to occupy these spaces, right? So we want people who are looking, you know, we want to make it very easy. You don't need to have a lot of money and hassle to own.
Well, we are moving on to some disturbing statistics you're receiving now. We are told that Ghana loses over 300,000 tons of maize annually to post-harvest losses, according to a 2016 study by an expert in post-harvest losses management with the Africa Post-Harvest Losses Information System. He is Dr. Bruno Tran. The figure represents 18% of the country's annual maize production, and the three regions of the north, being the largest contributor of maize in the country, are the hardest hit, unfortunately. Now, the study blamed it on the failure by the farmers to dry the maize thoroughly before storing them. Emmanuel Sasuyebwa, Upper West Regional Director of Agriculture, revealed this during the Regional Post-Harvest Losses Forum organized by the Ghana Trades and Livelihood Coalition in collaboration with SNV under the Voice for Change Partnership Project. Rafiq Salam reports.
Over the past decades, significant focus and resources have been allocated to increase food production. For example, 95% of the research investments during the past 30 years were focused on increasing productivity, whilst only 5% was directed towards reducing losses. Upper West Regional Director of Agriculture, Emmanuel Sasuyebwa, at the first Upper West Regional Post-Harvest Losses Forum, noted that food production is currently being challenged by limited land, water, and increased weather variability due to climate change. To sustain and achieve the goals of food and nutrition security, Emmanuel Sasu stated that food availability needs to be increased through reduction in post-harvest process at farms, retail, and consumer levels. He buttressed his point using a study conducted by an expert in post-harvest losses management with the Africa Post-Harvest Losses Information System, Dr. Bruno Tran.
That Ghana loses about 318,514 tons of maize annually to post-harvest losses. This figure represents 18% of the country's annual maize production. The losses recorded per region were as follows. Northern region, 20,411 metric tons. Upper East, 13,000 metric tons. Upper West, 778 metric tons. According to Dr. Tran, most of the maize was lost because the farmers failed to dry them thoroughly before storage.
It is not only maize that post-harvest losses are recorded, but rather major crops such as yam, sorghum, and millet as well.
Another research conducted in 2013 by the Urban Association Limited on post-harvest losses of selected food crops in 11 African countries, including Ghana, under the sponsorship of AGRA, revealed that almost half of food crops produced in the country does not make it to the final consumer.
Upper West Regional Minister Alhaji Suleiman Al-Hassan, in a speech read on his behalf by Alhaji Abubakar Abdullahi, lamented the toil and swore that farmers go through, but in the end, turned out to be a wasteful venture.
I am also aware that many of our mothers, wives, and sisters are engaged in processing and marketing. Groundnut, for instance, is one of the most important crops, and it is produced essentially by women. It is therefore a tragedy to even consider that large quantities of the output of all these efforts are lost to post-harvest management. The implication is that so much of the toil and sweat of the farmer goes into the drain.
Country Programs Coordinator for Netherlands Development Organization, SMV, Eric Banye, commended the government for the initiation of the One District, One Warehouse project. However, he will want the government to sensitize the farmers before the warehouses are put up.
In the north, the value of a farmer is in how many bags of maize he's having in his bedroom, and not how many bags of maize he has in a warehouse. So he will prefer to keep his own grains in his house when he's not even having the space to live than to carry that to the warehouse. So as we move forward, we need to incorporate these cultural practices in trying to say, oh, don't worry, let's put out the warehouses, farmers will bring the additional value. Not necessarily. You will be shocked that the warehouses will be there, but people will still keep the grains in their houses. So culture plays a very key role. And therefore, a lot of awareness, sensitization needs to be created for the farmer to value the fact that he needs to carry his grains to the warehouse.
The forum was organized by the Ghana Trades and Livelihood Coalition, GTLC, in collaboration with SMV under the Voice for Change Partnership Project. Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Well, back here in Accra, it's been a year now since the Kwame Nkrumah interchange was open to traffic. The interchange is located at one of Accra's popular trading hubs, originally known as Circle. So 1 year on, how has the facility changed the face of businesses there? John Fafali Kofi explores in today's Special Friday feature.
On November 14, 2016, the erstwhile Mahama-led administration held a delightful ceremony to mark completion of the construction and to officially open the interchange to traffic. The three-tier interchange was constructed to replace the Kwame Nkrumah Circle in the center of Accra. The construction of the interchange became necessary when the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, which is plied by over 84,000 vehicles from the arterial roads and their intersections daily, became congested. Traders took advantage to cash in anywhere around they deemed fit, from hawking to settling on pavements. Fast forward to November 2017. Is the story any different?
Before the interchange, the patronage was okay, but after they finished the interchange, in fact, the patronage is very, very low at this market. Then the people passing the pedestrian, we all pass through the markets, but after the interchange, they all pass back outside the market, so there's no patronage.
Formerly, it was good and better, and now everything has changed. Everything has turned upside down, and business is collapsing gradually, so it's not like first.
Some traders still hawk on the streets and pavements, while others have gone ahead to create stalls. They lament poor infrastructural planning around the interchange has worsened their already challenged business environment. But trotro drivers rather find their new bus terminal a convenient and safe haven for business. The objective of the project was to reduce congestion, travel time and vehicle operating cost, and thereby stimulate local economic growth. But can one confidently vouch for this?
Yeah, I think if we say that it's service purpose, we will need to look at the main reason why the Kwame Nkrumah interchange was remodeled from a circle to an interchange. One was to ease the traffic burden. I know traffic has some negative implications. One, it slows down economic activities, and two, it also is environmentally unfriendly, because at slower speeds, vehicles tend to release a lot of effluent into the environment. And so I believe that when we remodeled it, now there's free flow of traffic, and so in that case it means that we are burning fuel more efficiently. Also, the other issue is that people can come to work and go to back home early and sleep and come back again. That is, I think, for the remodeling, by and large, it has helped.
All right, you're watching Business Live. A quick update now on the currency, the cedi, and how it's performing against major currencies on the interbank market as well as on the stock market. Joining me this Friday, Bertha Atubika of Gold Coast Fund Management. Bertha, let's talk about the cedi first. We're hearing assurances from the Bank of Ghana, but how are we ending the week?
Well, thank you very much. This week actually closed on a relatively good note or a stable note. Because if you look at the year-to-date depreciation that we saw last week and you compare it to this week, it hasn't been very significant, or there hasn't been any significant gap as to whether the cedi is actually falling or losing significantly to other major trading partners. And as of today, that's today being the last day of the week, the cedi has lost 4.65% to the dollar, and it has lost 11.68% to the pound and 16.78% to the euro. Well, you can say that the pound and the euro has recorded some marginal but a little wide gap as compared to what we closed last week at. But the dollar is relatively stable on the interbank market, though we see it's been around 4.39 for some time now. So we can say that is relatively stable. But if you look at the holistic performance of the cedi against major trading partners as of today on the interbank market, the year-to-date depreciation is 9.42%.
And I hope that you have some good news for us as well on the stock markets and its the performance this week as far as trading is concerned.
Yes, most definitely. The news today is very positive. Why am I saying it's positive? Because the composite index that really looks at the average performance of the stock market is almost 50% YTD, almost, and there's a high possibility that it might close the year above 50% year-to-date returns, and that should tell you the stock market has done extremely well this year comparing it to the past 2 years in terms of its average performance. Now, today being the last day of the week, we saw the composite index record 49.24% average returns, and the financial stock index 43.19% average returns. And we saw a total of over we had 1,054,640 shares trading, with the highest trade being in Societe Generale, followed by EGL, and then we had GCB, and then Unilever, the last one being Standard Chartered Bank. We had other trades in other equities, for instance, Access Bank. Access Bank was the sole mover on the exchange. It traded only 300 shares, and we saw the equity move up by 17 pesos to close at 3.57 pesos per share. It started the day at 3.40 pesos per share. We all know last week Access Bank did relatively well, and we attributed that to the demand and supply of the equity on the market. If you want to look at its financials, we could say that it didn't do very well the third quarter comparing to last year's third quarter. Because if you look at their net profit, the net profit for last year, it was around 43,848,000. But this year, as of the end of September, their profit closed at 36,964,000 Ghana.
Okay, thanks very much. Have a great weekend yourself. Bertha Atubika there with the latest from the stock market. And as we conclude, we bring you our interview of the day. The Volta River Authority says it is in consultation with government over moves to slash electricity tariffs. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta on Wednesday announced a cut in the tariffs which will take effect in 2018 pending the approval by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. Now, speaking to Joy Business, Director, Technical Services at the VRA, Dr. Alfred Ofosu Ahenkra, said the 14 to 21% reduction in tariffs will not affect operations of the authority.
VRA is ready and we're working with government on this issue.
But are there any precautionary measures that you think government would have to take together with the PULC to make sure that the replaying effect of this in a negative sense does not, overlap?
I think the government is having a big dialogue on this issue. I mean, there are a lot of things that I believe that government is considering. That's how come they've come out with this reduction figures that they are talking about. There are so many things in the value chain that are being looked at, and for that reason we've arrived at these numbers that they are appearing in the budget. So there's some dialogue going on behind the scenes.
Okay, but one could say that this very move by governments could affect the operations at the VRA. What's your take on this?
Well, I mean, government is looking at the value chain. I mean, they are looking at the production costs, they are looking at the input prices, they are looking at gas prices. So there's a lot of dialogue going on to look at the inputs into the whole thing. Even some work is being done with the some of the previously procured generation that they are looking at the pricing. So a lot of work is being done in the background, and for which reason the numbers are what we see.
And that's it from us this week. My name is Darryl Kwame. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.